The controllers of this planet are taking us on their biggest joyride ever. It's called the collapse of our planetary civilization. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interuniversal, interdimensional, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. Now, before I get into talking about this crazy joyride that the controllers have us on in collapsing our civilization, I want to let you know that on August 1st and 2nd, I will be opening the doors to my Cosmic Journey membership again for the first time since last December. So the doors are only going to be open for 2 days. If you want to know information on that, I will put a link to a waiting list below. And I definitely encourage you to check it out because it is an extremely high value offering at a very, very affordable price. So the link's below. You can check it out by getting on the waiting list. Now let's get into the current bit of craziness. You know, things have gotten so weird on this planet that I sometimes think there must have been a cosmic insane asylum somewhere, and a bunch of inmates escaped and landed here on Earth, because there is literally no explaining the increasing level of madness that we see happening here today. Now, a lot of people who have a bit of New Age thinking, and I don't consider myself to be part of the New Age at all, because to me, the New Age is just way too dogmatic. But a lot of people who are in that sort of New Age mindset often think that this collapse is a good thing. You know, they say things like, yay, the Matrix is being destroyed. There's an assumption that all of this destruction and suffering is positive, because someday we're all going to wake up to this absolute jewel of a planet and everything will be completely awesome through no work of our own. The thinking seems to be that it's all just going to happen by magic for the sole reason that we deserve it. Now, why we deserve it, I don't really know, but apparently that's some of the thinking. Now, I do not agree with this idea because to me it makes no sense at all. Let me give you an analogy. Think of the Earth as being like a planetary garden, because that's actually what it is. Now, imagine for a moment if you had just a regular garden yourself that was doing pretty well. You know, it maybe had some weeds in it and it had some problems, but overall, it was doing okay. Now, imagine if you wanted to make that simple garden really, really gorgeous, really amazing, really spectacular. You wanted that garden to be lush and beautiful and really thrive. In other words, you decided that you wanted to bring that garden to its highest level of expression. What would then be your plan of action? Would you go to the nearest insane asylum and get some crazy people to come over and completely destroy your garden? Would you have them poison the soil, rip out all the plants, block out the sun, and deprive whatever little bit of life was left, deprive that little bit that was left of water and nutrients? Would you watch the complete destruction of that garden space and say, yay, the old garden is being destroyed? All we have to do is wait until the universe magically makes a better garden appear. And while this destruction of your former garden is going on, you know, maybe you go back into your house and you do some spiritual things like meditation or yoga, or maybe you go vegan. And then maybe you go on social media, or, you know, you watch a lot of YouTube videos just to find out what's going on. And every now and then you look out the window and see the crazy people doing severe damage to your formerly alive garden space. And this makes you just a little bit nervous. But see, it's okay, because all you have to do is go back to social media, and inevitably you will find someone who will reassure you that the crazies destroying your garden is a good thing, because the garden needs to be destroyed so a new garden can magically appear. See, no one would ever do this or believe this when it comes to an actual garden. But for some reason, we don't apply that actual consciousness and logic to the planet as a whole, which in reality is just one giant spherical garden. For some reason, when it comes to the planet, our collective common sense just leaves the room, and we choose instead to dive headfirst into this weirdly passive magical thinking. So no, civilization collapsing is not the matrix being destroyed. Civilization is being intentionally collapsed by the controllers so they can create an actual matrix, which is the AI fake reality metaverse. Civilization is being intentionally collapsed so they can manufacture a new AI control grid and put a fake AI reality in its place. See, the only matrix that we've been living in so far is the reality of false beliefs and lies that lives in our minds. It's a false reality that was installed in our brains and our consciousness by a lifetime of conditioning, brainwashing, and mind control. See, our physical reality is not the matrix, but the artificial kingdom of the AI-controlled metaverse will most definitely be a real matrix. So it's a little bit crazy to believe that our physical world, which is beautiful and is part of a much larger physical universe, is bad and needs to be destroyed. So I really think that we need to stop saying that all of this breakdown and this collapse is a good thing. War, starvation, poverty, violence, and the destruction of Earth's natural cycles is not the pathway to anything beautiful. The death and the suffering and the intentional destruction of human beings is not the path to a higher level of consciousness. People being traumatized and depressed by this entire scenario is not some sign that this is all good, and it means that they're ascending. And all of this is really the main reason why I don't exactly have any interest in New Age thinking. It's because it doesn't make any sense. Now, instead, I prefer an extraterrestrial cosmic viewpoint. Extraterrestrial in this sense has nothing to do with spaceships and ETs. Oh, and by the way, I think we should stop romanticizing spaceships. Yes, they're certainly out there. And of course, there are real extraterrestrials. But guys, spaceships are literally just travel vehicles. They're like cars that can fly. Cars are also vehicles of transportation. And so are airplanes. A spaceship is just a different, more advanced version of that. I mean, why are we worshiping vehicles of transportation? Cars go on the ground, boats go in the ocean, planes fly in the sky inside our atmosphere, and spaceships travel in the space outside of our atmosphere. And sometimes they travel outside of our solar system and even outside of our galaxy. But they are all just vehicles of transportation. So if you're smart, You're not going to worship a spaceship any more than you would worship a car. I mean, people are so amazed when they see a UFO. It's almost like a religious experience. But the thing is, you don't even know what it is, who it is, or where it came from. I really think we need to stop being so fascinated with transportation vehicles. I think we need to start getting fascinated with an entirely new perspective on all of this. So let's talk about what I mean by an extraterrestrial perspective, which is actually a cosmic perspective. It just means to get a wider view of things that is not limited to this very troubled planet. Now think about this for a moment. Earth has its own ecosystem of life, and Earth is connected to multiple levels of larger ecosystems, like the solar system, like the galaxy, and then the larger universe. But it's all nature, and it's all an integrated whole. So the first thing that we need to accept is that human beings are a part of nature. We as human beings are a part of Earth's ecosystem. When we are in our natural state, we integrate beautifully with the planet. And we're certainly not stupid enough to destroy our own place of planetary residence in the cosmos. But the controllers of this planet are that stupid. And they like to point the finger at us and say that we are the problem. Well, of course, we're the problem for them, because as human beings who are an integral part of this planet, we love this planet. We love its nature and its inherent beauty. The controllers don't love this planet. They hate everything about it. That's why they're destroying it. And they know that if we were in our right minds, that they would never ever be allowed to do what they are doing. And that's why they do everything in their power to make us stupid. When the truth is that they are the stupid ones. Only we can't see it because we have collectively believed too many of their lies and too much of their brainwashing and mind control. So let's take off our brainwashing glasses and take a look at what these controllers are actually about. They are literally nothing more than a roving band of crazy people. For a while now, they have wanted to get rid of the weather. You know what I'm talking about, right? That thing that starts with a C. And now they actually want to get rid of the sun. Think about it. When you think of the paradise of Earth, think about what they're saying. They're saying that weather is bad, and now even the sun is bad. Humans are bad. Animals are bad because they contribute to making weather. And even plants are bad too. When you grow plants, you are hurting the earth. That's why farms have to go. These guys must have come from living on a rock somewhere out in space, because they don't seem to like a single thing about this living earth. Plants, animals, humans, the weather, and now even the sun is their enemy. See, according to them, anything that grows and is alive is bad for the earth. So we have this guy, who I call Mr. BG, who hates the sun and now wants to block it out. He and his band of renegade losers have decided that the sun is bad and they have to find a way to prevent its light from reaching the Earth's surface. So their latest project is to find a way to block the sun. And here are some of the things that these weirdos are actually researching in terms of ways to do that, ways they can block the sun. Check this out. They could cover all the deserts on the planet with plastic. They could create plants that have reflective leaves, so the leaves of the plants would reflect the sun away from the earth. Because see, they probably never heard about something called photosynthesis, right? I mean, think about that. Create plants that send the sun's light away from them. Why? So they can die? Oh, and here's another idea that they're actually very, very serious about. They actually think that maybe, just maybe, they can put giant mirrors in space that will reflect the sun's light away from the earth. Another idea they have is to find a way to make the clouds whiter. Nah, that probably wouldn't work because then they'd have to say that clouds are white supremacists, right? So making clouds whiter is probably not the best idea for these crazy people. And of course, they really want to expand on their go-to plan to block the sun by spraying more garbage into the air. Spraying that stuff in the sky that, again, I probably shouldn't talk about, but you all know what I'm talking about, right? They think, hey, we could do more of that and that could work too. Now, when you think about the list that I just gave you of some of their ideas about blocking out the sun, you know these people are insane. So, what do we do with all of this? What we must do is to put these characters in the proper perspective. So let me just tell you their plan in a nutshell. According to them, biological life, which is literally the life of the planet, biological life is bad. Biological life is carbon-based. And according to these idiots, carbon is bad for the planet. So their plan is ultimately to destroy all life on Earth. Now, you might say, well, that doesn't make any sense because aren't they going to hurt themselves in the process? Oh, they have a plan for that too. They figure that while all this destruction that they're setting in motion is going on, they're just going to hide underground like a whole bunch of weasels. And then, when it's all over, they will emerge victorious. At this point, they will finally own the planet. But here's what they fail to remember. They, too, are biological carbon-based beings. And by the time they're done destroying everything, including the atmosphere, because according to them, there's a lot of bad stuff in the atmosphere, too. And it's not pollution. It's just natural things, the natural things that we need to survive. So yeah, it's all bad. So by the time they're done destroying everything, including the atmosphere, they will have no food to eat and no air to breathe. So they will emerge from their underground burrows, which they like to call bunkers because it makes them sound important and special. See, because we don't have bunkers and they do. But weirdly enough, bunkers sounds a little bit like bonkers, doesn't it? So they're going to emerge from their underground bunkers only to find a vast wasteland that can't support them either. That is, if they were to ever get away with their ridiculous plan. But this is how stupid these guys are. They're ridiculous. I mean, these guys make Wile E. Coyote look like a genius.
Meep, meep.
Okay, now I know I've been joking around a lot about the controllers, but that's because I want to help you really put these people in perspective, these crazies in the right perspective. in a universal extraterrestrial sense, something that's bigger, that's cosmic, that we really look at them and comprehend the magnitude of their, what do you call it, mental illness, craziness? I don't know. But putting all of that aside, what I want to focus on right now at this moment, I want to focus on the issue of them messing around with the sun. Because that takes this whole fiasco to a completely different level. And because of the fact that they intend to mess with the sun and the sun's relationship with the earth, we need to make a dramatic shift in our consciousness in terms of how we see ourselves, how we see the planet, and how we see this entire ridiculous situation. See, when you start messing around with the sun, which is a star, and that star's relationship to one of its planets, when you openly intend to attack that relationship and disrupt it, you have crossed a line. To me, this is really like a criminal act on a cosmic level, because now you are attacking the solar system, and that is an entirely different arena. Now, I know the natural reaction to that is probably something like, well, aren't there beings out there that can come and stop this, that have a vested interest in the solar system, that will come and take command of the situation and make it stop? I know that's a natural reaction. But here's something else I want to share with you, and then I want to get into exactly what we need to do and how we can position ourselves, take our rightful place in this situation, and rise to a completely different level of power and awakening and revelation, actually. Here's the thing. We cannot sit around passively and expect ETs to come and do something about this while we sit around like a bunch of victims. Because that mindset is exactly why they don't come. See, you have to understand that when other life forms look at us from a cosmic perspective, they do not see us through the lens, what I'll call the brainwashed lens, that we tend to see ourselves through. They see us from a completely different context. And I'm talking about the higher beings of real serious empowerment. They look at us, they look at humanity on this planet from a context of actual true evolution and the principles and laws of creation and the universe and how evolution is actually designed to work. They look at us through the lens of who we really are as human beings and cosmic creators. That's how they see us. They see us in a way that is far more true to the truth than the way in which we see ourselves. Now, there are definitely many beings out there who have technically written us off for now because of our propensity as a collective to not think for ourselves and not listen to and follow our hearts. That is the main reason why they can't respond. Because thinking for yourself and following your heart is evolution 101. I mean, that is as basic as it gets. And if we as a humanity are demonstrating that we're not willing to do that, then I guess we need a little more time with our weird situation until we finally wake up and realize what it is we actually need to be doing to move on beyond all of this. Now, I want to point out something else. What I'm talking about now is in no way related to our spiritual guides. We do have spiritual guides who will never leave our side, who are always here to support us no matter what, as long as we're at least in a space to stay connected to something of the light. They're not going to leave us, okay? They're never going to write us off. That's not their role. Their role is to be a consistent support and love and guidance in the hopes that we will wake up at the deepest possible level and get ourselves situated on the right path that will take us where we know we really want to go. So here's how you can look at another way you can look at this from a cosmic perspective. We have a collective consciousness here. This overall collective consciousness sends a signal out into the universe that is perpetual, that is constant. It sends out a signal of wordless communication. It's more a signal of where we're at, basically. So I'm not suggesting that any of you are sending out this signal. I'm talking about the mass collective consciousness. And it really comes down to something very, very simple. It comes down to a signal that we're collectively not yet done with this garbage that goes completely against what our hearts are telling us. For the most part, as a collective, we as a humanity have shut down our hearts and will not listen to the truth that our hearts are constantly broadcasting. We just don't want to believe it. So that's our biggest problem here when it comes to life in the universe. See, you cannot reach people who don't want to listen. And I'm not talking about listening to words and messages from space. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about listening to our hearts at the deepest possible level. See, we get confused. We think listening to our emotional turmoil and needs and desires and whatever that is, we think that's listening to our hearts. Maybe sort of, but there is a very deep part of our hearts that sends us messages continuously about so many things that we believe in on this planet that are just not accurate. When I say not accurate, I don't mean the messages are not accurate. I mean the things on this planet that we believe in are not accurate. They're not accurate to the truth of the laws and principles of the universe. The things we believe in are not accurate to the way things are really meant to be. And I've given you guys examples of this a lot of times in past videos. You know, things like death should not exist. There should not be suffering. There should not be pain and violence and misery. That stuff's not supposed to exist. Yet we don't want to hear that on a collective basis. We're like, no, that's not true because look, it's happening. And if it's happening, it must be that it's supposed to be happening. Guys, that's not how this works. That would be like saying you break your arm and you don't do anything about it because you say to yourself, well, you know, I guess it's supposed to happen or it wouldn't have broken. No, you do something about it. You recognize that your arm was not supposed to be broken and you do everything you can to fix it. And your vision is to heal that injury. But see, we will do that on a superficial level, but we don't want to do it on a real level of reality. No, we'd rather say crazy stuff like, oh, this is awesome. The Matrix is being destroyed. I mean, what? Our planet's being destroyed. Humanity's being destroyed. And we're happy because we call it the Matrix? Seriously, guys. This is why we don't have contact with a lot of things we could be having contact with if we would just restore ourselves to our right minds, which we can only do by listening to, opening up to our own hearts and what our hearts are telling us. We have to stop reacting to the heart's messages with things like, well, that's not real, or, huh, that's not possible, or, huh, that's never going to happen. We have to stop doing that. Because what the heart is telling us is our beacon of light. It's our deepest guiding force. And until we start taking it very, very, very seriously, we're not ever going to have perspective. We're going to constantly be trying to navigate through all of this in the wrong ballpark. The ballpark that doesn't work. The one that was established by the controllers. Controllers being religions, society, governments, monarchs, the thousands of years of insane history on this earth. Histories of lies and manipulations and all of it. We cannot process this in that arena because it's false. It's fake. It's not the truth. I mean, I'm talking about going really, really deep here. For example, the heart will say, hey, the food chain is a bad deal. Animals killing and eating each other. This entire thing is a complete and total reverse of how life was actually designed. But we don't want to hear that because it doesn't match what we see out here. And we think to ourselves, well, maybe we could just all be vegans and that would solve it. No, it won't. Look at the wildlife. Everything lives on the death of something else. We, even if we're vegan, are living on the death of plants. It's life supported by death. It is totally backwards, completely reversed. But we can't even hold a vision for that level of transformation, for that level of powerful evolution. If we just react with, no, that's not real. Well, then, is this what we want to be real? This insanity? Is this what we assign as the reality for us? So how about a starting place like this? How about starting with giving up the idea, or consider it. If you don't want to give it up, it'll go on forever because there's no limit to time and space in the universe. So if you want to keep holding on to this, you can literally live this out forever, or as long as you want. But how about giving up the idea that pain and suffering, darkness and light, good and bad, all of those polar opposites are a positive thing because we learn from them, they teach us something, they make life interesting, we like the challenge and all that stuff. How about giving that up? How about giving up the false belief that if that stuff wasn't here, if we did not have any of that, if that just didn't exist, how about giving up the belief that, well, that would be so boring. I mean, what would we do with ourselves? Just sit around like a blob of light with nothing to do. It'd be boring. Where do you think those ideas come from? The idea that that would be boring. Well, I'll tell you exactly where it comes from. It comes from the ego. It comes from the ego that will cease to exist along with all the polarities. Polarities, by the way, are not magnetism. That's different. I'll come back to that in a minute. But the ego is part of the polarity, the part of the dysfunctional, disorienting polarity of duality that shouldn't exist here. What do you think the ego is? You have your true self, which is the I am. And then you have your false self, which is the ego, which is the I am not. And these two selves are constantly at war. Actually, the real self is never at war with the ego. The way it really works is the ego is always, always at war with the true self. Because if you were to become 100% who you really are, if you were to become completely whole in that sense, there's no ego anymore. There's no false self anymore. There's no alternative self anymore. So rather than thinking about we need to be rescued, somebody needs to help us, somebody needs to save us, why don't we get down to the real bottom line of our deeper situation that has actually led us into the trap we find ourselves in right now? How about if we stop saying, we need the ego is our friend, it's such a good thing? Did it ever occur to you that the truth is we do not need the ego at all? We don't. The ego does nothing but cause us trouble. It's constantly negative. It's constantly battling us. It's constantly trying to keep us in check so that we don't ever expand into being so much more than we've been so far. It's constantly after us with fear. We don't need it. Here's what we do need. What we do need is consciousness, which we have. We need intelligence, which we have. We need knowledge of many things, which is innate to who we are. We do not need this alternate fake self called the ego, constantly trying to take over, run the show, and limit us in virtually every single area of our lives. We don't need fear to protect us. We need consciousness. We need intelligence. We have those things. We have love. We have all of the attributes. We have creativity. We have all of it. We don't need the ridiculous ego fighting us at every single turn. It is the ego that has got us believing in these controllers. It's the fear-based ego that causes us to believe their ridiculous reality. So I'm telling you guys, there is so much help, there is support, there is the entire universe that is available to help us evolve through this kind of craziness. But we have to do our part. We have to come to terms and we actually have to come into alignment with our heart, with the truth, with who we really are. Because we have to be able to come into resonance. We have to be able to come into coherence with some fundamental truth of this universe. If we can ever expect what's available to us in that arena to support us. So it's not that the support isn't there. It is there in spades. It's there all over the place. We are the ones that are out of alignment with that support. We are the ones that are not in a place of resonance with that support. We're not in resonance with that support. We have way too many crazy beliefs that work against us, that hurt us, that harm us, that limit us. We have way too many beliefs that do not allow us to be in resonance with that support, that do not allow us to come into the full magnitude of coherence with that support. That's available to us all the time. So I don't know if I was thinking, well, is this a rant? No, this is not a rant. This is a passionate statement about what we must come to terms with, what we have to do. All of our coping mechanisms, all of our stories that we're telling ourselves, all of this stuff, it's not working because it can't work, because we're missing the entire point. And doesn't it make sense to you that whatever you call God or source or the creator of all that is, that created so much beauty, that created love, that created all of the wonderfulness, doesn't it make sense that that truth would have been put inside of us? Not out here where we're lost and we can't find it, but would have been put right inside of us, right within our hearts. And it's up to us to just begin to listen, to throw off the shackles, release ourselves from the bondage of beliefs that do nothing positive for us, and open our hearts, open our minds, open ourselves, not to something out here, but to what we know inside of ourselves. because what we know is what's going to ultimately connect us to the creator of all that is. So I have a lot of things that I can share with you and that I will share with you about things that we can all do that will really support us, really help us, really elevate our consciousness, elevate our energy, our frequency, all of it to a place of empowerment where we can really navigate this situation. But I also feel that what I'm talking about today is so basic, it's so fundamental, it's so foundational to all of those things. Because if we don't get this foundational piece, we can do all of the other things, but we're still going to be doing them on top of a resistance to the heart, in some cases, even a rejection to the heart's messages. And it's not going to have the power. It's not going to have the magnitude of light that it will have if you have gone to the deepest part of yourself and really just been willing to listen. Listen beneath the emotions. Listen beneath the thoughts. Believe in what your heart is trying to tell you. So I think I'm going to leave it there for now because I really want to give you guys a chance to just sort of be with everything I've shared with you here. And I will definitely come back and share more about some other things that you can do that are practical and things like that. But for now, I really think the timing is such that this is where our focus needs to be, at least some of our focus, right? Maybe not all of it, but we need to find a center point of truth, a center point of light that will bring us into a state of consciousness. Think about this. It will bring us into a state of consciousness where we will not be confused ever again. Doesn't that sound amazing? That's entirely possible. We carry that truth inside of ourselves, inside of our hearts. That's where the treasure is, you guys. That's where the light is. That's where the fire is. That's where the power is. So think about that. Consider that and imagine the power of doing all the other things if you're coming from that central point of truth. Okay, so let me just share a little extra with you that you probably don't know. You might have noticed that every week I have these fresh flowers over here for you guys. I buy you guys flowers every week. I do because I just feel inspired. They're for you. That's why I get them every week when I do a video for you guys. So if I could hand you this bouquet of flowers, I would. But I just wanted you to know that I do buy these just for you guys every week. Why? Because to me, flowers are a symbol of love. They are a high vibration. They're a symbol of happiness. They're like the earth's beautiful gift to all of us. And flowers they're just uplifting, right? They're just, you know how if you feel really bad about something and somebody brings you flowers, you instantly feel better, right? So I love that vibration of flowers. And that's why I bring you guys flowers every week. Now, also before I go, I want to let you know that I am going to continue to share with you all about the Healy device, this little device that I've shown you a few times already, which is a frequency device with a quantum sensor. It uses quantum technology. Why, oh, why would I want to keep sharing about it? Because it is a powerful, powerful, powerful technology in a very beautiful, natural, simple little device that to me is probably the most advanced physical tool for evolution that I have ever seen. It's the only one I've ever seen on planet Earth. And I was thinking about this the other day because I know I brought this up a number of times, and some people have said to me, well, Saratoga, there's got to be something wrong with that thing because, we should be able to do this by ourselves. We should be able to go into the quantum realm of creation by ourselves. I mean, that's who we are. So if there's a physical device involved, well, there's just got to be something wrong with that. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, yeah, I kind of see how people could look at it that way. But on the other hand, one time, one of the beings I channel, whose name is Adam, some of you probably heard me talk about him before and bring messages to you from him. I think I might even have a YouTube video where I actually channeled him. But some years ago, I had an injury. I don't even remember what it was, honestly. It wasn't anything really serious, but it was painful. What the heck was it? I don't know if I sprained an ankle or hurt my arm or something. I don't know. I did something working out or something. Anyway, now I can see the beings that I channel. Okay, I can see them because I have interdimensional sight, so I can see them clearly just like I would see you, but it's a different dimension. It's actually a more beautiful dimension. It's just bright and beautiful and incredible. It's like, well, that's another story, okay. But anyway, so I had this injury, and he came to me, and he had this, it was kind of like a device, and he put it around my forearm, and he said, this is a piece of extraterrestrial technology. It's interdimensional. It's for healing. And then he said to me, but here's the thing. It's thought activated, and if you don't believe it will work, then it won't work. Right? That makes sense, doesn't it? So I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, I don't know if I believe it because it's not this dimension and it's really hard for me. I was really struggling. I was struggling to really embrace and fully accept that this thing was going to work for me because it was in another dimension and and my problem was physical in this dimension. So I don't know, maybe it worked and I just don't remember because I don't even remember what the injury was. I literally don't. But nonetheless, when I first was introduced to the Healy, I remembered that. And this is way smaller and more sleek in a way, because this was something that just went around your whole arm. And I was thinking about that and I thought, oh man, that is so cool because we are physical beings. And how amazing it is to have an actual physical device that isn't limited to our physical three-dimensional reality because it has a quantum sensor and utilizes quantum technology, which is what allows us to be consciously connected to frequency at every level up to the quantum level of reality. That's amazing, right? But that's been my experience with this. So that's why I keep suggesting it. I probably will. If you don't like it, I'll stick it at the beginning of a video, or maybe I'll stick it at the end of the video so you don't have to listen to that part. If you don't want to hear about it, that's fine. But I feel, I just feel such a deep sense that I need to share this with whomever might want one. It's not like everybody's going to want one. I don't think it's even for everybody. I don't believe that. I think it's for some people who actually want it. So I put it out there so that people who maybe want it, who maybe have been praying for that type of help, will just know that it exists. When you can look at everything at the level of frequencies of energy, which is the universal language in the entire universe is known by frequencies. That's the universal language that is understood throughout the universe. It's the language of creation. So when you can actually start to experientially tune into life, matter, reality at the level of frequency, man, everything starts to open up. Things that you might have been struggling with, even inside of yourself, it changes that. Because when you're at the level of frequency, at a quantum level of frequency, there's not that sense of barriers anymore. This is how it is for me. There's not that sense of walls you have to break through, things you have to fight with, and all of that. It's like there's this ease and there's this freedom, and you really are in a creative, like the creative soup of the universe, the creative soup from which the universe is created, the creative soup from which you are created. And we are creator beings. That is who we are. So anything that can assist with coming into the experience of life as frequency is very, very powerful. It's especially powerful given our circumstances today. So I'll probably keep bringing it up, and, if any of you guys are interested, you can check it out. I will always leave a link in the description. You can check it out whenever you like. If you like, if you don't like, don't check it out. It's just for those who might be interested. Okay, so I think that's enough for today. I will come back again with a lot more to say about what's going on and what we can do about it, because my entire goal for doing these videos and for doing the work that I'm doing is to support all of us in navigating through this, staying on an ascension path, staying on a path of evolution, staying the course of where we as human beings really want to go in the cosmos. Because our journey is not limited to just this planet Earth. We're infinite beings. We have an endless journey through time and space and beyond. Our journey of evolution is powerful, it's profound, it's amazing. But we just want to make sure that we don't get caught up in all of this insanity that these controllers are doing, and that we stay the course of what our true intention is. So that's the reason I do the work that I do. That's my sole focus, my sole purpose is let's just stay focused on the path so we continue to evolve in such a way that none of this junk is going to stop us. If you did enjoy this video, if you received benefit from anything I had to say, it'd be awesome if you give this video a thumbs up and also share it out with anyone else who you feel might benefit from some of the things I shared with you guys. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I am here on Tuesdays with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you all so much love, light, and high vibrational energy, and incredible wishes for you to have a wonderful, wonderful experience in your life. I really, really hope and pray that your life will become everything you've ever wanted it to be. And with that, I'm sending you all so much love. Namaste.